I have a wisdom tooth coming in right now and it kills. So if I have a bit more of a weird lisp or something like that today, it's because I can't close the back of my mouth. Not that anyone cares. Okay, anyway. Let's get into this. I feel like there's a lot of parents right now homeschooling their kids and they're kind of going crazy and they're like, I hate this. Pretty sure my kid hates this. That might be true, but I do want to share my experience, what it was like being a homeschooled kid up until grade 11. And then I only did half-time school for theater and then I would put myself into high school for grade 12. Pretty much my entire education was done by homeschooling and I liked it a lot. So here's some of the pros that if you're homeschooling your kids right now, you might not realize what they're getting from it, but it's a lot of good. I hope. Hello everybody, my name is Sarah and this channel is called Sarah Refined. That's it now. That's my intro. So today, because we're talking about homeschooling, I wanted to quickly start off with the schedule that my mom had for us and a bit of a backstory. So we were raised on a farm in the middle of nowhere, Canada. Well, actually, no, we're like far north Canada, not quite the middle of nowhere. We were brought up, there were 6 of us. With my mom's side, I've got some older siblings too, but there are 6 of us that were homeschooled at my mom's. We were given a classical education, which if you would like to learn about that, this book called The Well-Trained Mind. I took it from my mom and I've been reading it to try to prepare myself for my own future children, and that's my mom's formula. Besides that point though, besides the classical education, we had a schedule. It was laminated. She meant business. Everything was on there from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed. I didn't feel like making the whole thing, but I did try to put things into some sort of timeline. So let's just quickly fly through that really fast. 6 a.m. was Latin. Yes, we woke up at 6 a.m. and started Latin. We were 7 years old. 6, 7, I don't know. Too early to be learning Latin. Time-wise, child-wise, like age-wise, I think that was a really great time to start because we were all like, ooh, I gotta learn a language. Not caring that was a dead one. 7 a.m. was English grammar. 8 a.m. we were all up, so getting the younger 4 kids up because it was only my sister and I up at 6. And we'd all have breakfast. 8:45 was cleanup, 9 was math, 10 was science, 11 o'clock we had social studies or history, which, like I said, we live in Canada and we studied American stuff because all of our textbooks were from America. So fast forward to like a month ago and I'm helping a kid do his social studies and I'm learning as much as he is. He's in grade 6 and I was like, wow, I never learned Canadian social studies. So might be something to do in isolation. 12 o'clock was lunch. 12:30 was lunch cleanup. 1 o'clock was music practice. I did voice, my sister did piano. 2 o'clock was quiet time and reading. We also had everyone sits in the living room and just quietly reads, which sounds very weird, but it was actually really nice. And it's now one of my favorite things to do is just read silently around other people. It drives people nuts. My boyfriend hates it. Boyfriend, husband. It's only been a year. 3 o'clock was outside time. Normally that meant we'd go play in the snow or we'd build forts. 4 o'clock was usually chores, firewood, and like homework type of stuff, so things we hadn't gotten through earlier in the day. 5 o'clock was dinner prep and the clean and tidy of our rooms and like the living room tidy and kind of get things ready for dad to come home. 6 o'clock was supper time or 6:30. 7 o'clock was supper cleanup, and then 7:30 was usually games or puzzles or something. My mom would read the Little House on the Prairie books to us out loud and everyone would sit around and it was very quaint. Picture a Jane Austen book and that's pretty much what my life was. But in like the 21st century. So not quite as cute. And then 8:30, 9, and 10 was kind of our bedtimes depending on the age of the kids. That was our schedule. If you have any questions about the cons, leave them in the description down below. So today we're gonna focus mostly on the pros. From a kid's perspective. From a parent's perspective, I don't know how my mom did it. I'm not even a parent yet, and the thought of being responsible for my child's education both excites me and terrifies me at the same time. The downside of learning everything in the way we did was that the homeschool groups my mom followed were based for Christian and home schools. So our Latin lessons were not like learning how to say, Romeo, get the cart. It was, God blessed Romeo with the cart. So that was weird. If God gave Jenny 5 apples, but he only gave Jeremy 3 apples, who disappointed him more? I'm kidding, that's not actually like a math problem, but probably it was. I've probably just blocked it out of my memory. Okay, I'm talking in circles right now. Let's get into this. Sorry. The number one pro of being homeschooled, that is a thing I will cherish forever and ever, and is a big reason of why I want to homeschool my own kids, is because of the time with a family. There's a bit of a big age group between myself and my youngest sister. There's, well, 10 years. So there's me, my sister, brother, sister. So by the time that my youngest sister was 7, I was 17 and living at my dad's house because it was significantly quieter. And then by 19, So she was 9, I was 19, and I was traveling in Spain, and I was gone for like 6 months, and then I got here, like came back to Canada and moved to the city, 15 or 14 hours away. So by the time my sister was basically 7, I was pretty far out of her life. So things got kind of weird there as far as our making memories and spending time together. And so because of that, I am actually so grateful that we had all those years together beforehand where we were learning together. Our, like that kitchen table, that was kind of what our school table was like. We just sat around the table, everyone had their own books out in front of them. The family time was so nice. And then also just like learning and helping the younger kids. So I can never breathe properly when I film. I don't know why. The second favorite thing about homeschooling was that the learning aspect was a bit different. And this could have been tied in with the classical education part, because as I read that book that I was showing earlier, they do kind of mention that don't just teach your kid fractions at the table, get them baking, make them scoop out 3/4 cup of flour and then a half a tablespoon of whatever. So I think that that's where my mom kind of got that, but that was a huge part of it. Like we didn't always do everything by textbook. Mom wouldn't say, okay, you get this. She'd ask us, what's next? So you've got like an 8-year-old reading a recipe, understanding fractions, and if we had questions, Mom's there to guide us. It was really cool way to learn. It was kind of like hands-on math. There's actually a school system here in Canada. I don't know if it's everywhere else, but it's called the Montessori school system, and it is a very hands-on with older kids teaching younger kids. I had never heard of it until I moved here to the city, but a lot of parents tell me about it, and it's pretty much the exact same way my mom taught us. So Mama, you are ahead of the curve. So continuing on with the hands-on learning was the gardening and the building and everything. If we needed a bookshelf or if I needed more storage in my bedroom, we more often than not went down to the shop and built it. And we were lucky enough to have, we lived on a farm, so there was lots of wood and nails and everything. But we built pretty much anything we needed. It's a skill that I have today that I love and I'm very grateful for. And it kind of kept us very creative. So boosted that creativity by also giving us life skills and just general skills in life. That's the same sentence, just reversed. I haven't eaten today, it's just the coffee. I'm sorry. Another pro was that our music lessons and practice were just part of our day-to-day lessons. From what I understand, most kids will have a school class of music, but then there's a lot of them that have classes music lessons outside of school. So that is something you have to do after school, and then you have to practice every day after school. For us, music lessons were Wednesdays, that was our town day. We'd leave the farm once a week, and that was the most fun day of our lives. Every week. It meant that we got to see our friends, play at the park, and we'd have to do our music lesson for an hour, but it wasn't that bad. We also got to go grocery shopping. That's what my life was like. Excited to go grocery shopping, which to be fair, during this pandemic, that's basically come full circle. I am any excuse to get out of the house. But also any excuse to stay in the house. Oh my God, I'm confusing myself. Music lessons were just part of our lesson, our schooling. I think that was what kind of made it more fun. The other pro, which I think is every kid's dream, is no homework, because you're at home all the time. So all you did was homework. And when you're sheltered and raised really conservatively, that's your humor. It's just, you tell kids, everyone complains about homework, but they don't have to do 8 hours of homework. My husband thinks my sense of humor right now isn't funny, but I'm hilarious compared to 8-year-old me. He has no idea. The homework thing was really nice because I remember talking to my cousins, or I'd get home on Fridays to go visit my dad, and my older siblings or my step siblings would basically drag their backpacks out of the car and they'd have to go do homework quickly and finish up their stuff that they hadn't done during the week. That just baffled my mind. I'm like, you were just in school for 8 hours or more, and now you have to come home and do more school? We did, from 6 a.m. and then an hour lunch break, and then usually done at 2. And that was including our music lessons. Okay, so as I'm filming this, I actually thought I'd maybe talk a little bit as well about what I liked about having the classical education versus just the homeschooling, because I know there's various forms of homeschooling. One of the things that she decided to do was teach us Latin. And I have to say, we were very excited for a few years, then we really hated it, and now I really wish I'd paid more attention. But when I started teaching myself Spanish and French and Italian, especially Italian's so simple for me, other than the memorizing the vocabulary, but the grammatical side of it and understanding root words and being able to translate translate words just from understanding kind of like what they would have been is very cool. And I know that I only know that because of Latin. If you're bored this whole quarantine isolation thing, maybe try some Latin because it will help you learn your languages and gives you a great route for understanding English as well, which is something I realized not everyone had. There was a kid talking about rain, as in R-E-I-G-N, and he didn't understand what it meant. And I tried to explain to him, like, well, break it down. What's the root? And he was just like, I said, well, R-E-I, Re, what is Re? And I said, Re means king in Latin. And he's like,
how do you expect me to know this?
and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. The whole classical education thing, I don't feel like I explained it that well at all. I literally just talked about learning Latin. But let's just quickly recap the homeschool pros. We had a really cool education that was very unique and very beneficial for us, I found. We had a very hands-on education as well because everything we learned was able to be weaved into everything we did, whether it was learning fractions with cooking or understanding like Latin names when we did the gardening or building and doing, I guess, more math. Everything was math. Ugh, my tooth really hurts. Another pro was no homework, and number one pro was the time with the family. This is definitely a stressful situation to be voluntold into homeschooling, but if you're a parent and you're wondering what your kid is thinking of all this homeschool stuff, chances are they're not minding it too much. And yeah, I have nothing but good memories from the homeschooling. One of the things I didn't mention yet, I know this is going to be a really long video right now, probably, of me just rambling, but one thing I just wanted to say was that my mom was the best teacher because she made a lot of things fun. As I've been reading this book, I've also noticed that it's kind of mentioned in there that if the child is struggling with the subject, don't force them to finish it in that moment. Let it go, finish the problem, and then come back to it another day. And one of the best moments and examples of that was a time when I was sitting in the trailer, I was struggling with math, and I could not get it. I think it was like one of our earlier lessons of the day too, but I think I was close to tears, if not crying. And my mom was trying to explain to me how to do this math problem. And so I finally got it, or we finally finished it. I don't think I understood it, but managed to get the right answer. And she stayed super calm, very gentle voice. We finished that. She said, okay, everyone, school's done for the day. We're gonna make some popcorn, make some iced tea, and we're gonna take a hike. So she packed a book and the popcorn and iced tea, and we went for a little walk, but we just kind of went and made like a little picnic, eating our popcorn, drinking our tea, and mom read to us a story. And then we went home and we had like a really random chill day. I don't think we really focused on anything. Maybe we did some like English homework or music lessons and kind of like carried on with the schedule, but it was very loose like a very loose schedule. But that's one of my best memories of homeschooling because I would not have gotten that kind of understanding in the public school system. And the next day basically went through back to our routine. When it came back time to math, I understood the problems, I understood the formulas, and mom was like, see, you weren't dumb, you don't not know it, you just were struggling with it in the moment. I've always kept that lesson with me of it's not that I don't know it, I'm just maybe struggling with it today in this moment. Let's put it aside, focus on something else, and come back to it. But anyway, that's kind of it. My mom made homeschooling really fun, and I think that that's why we learned as well as we did. I have nothing bad to say, except for once we got to grade 8, and then I was on my own and I taught myself math. Sometimes I think I'm gonna take a math course just to refresh myself, and then I don't know why I would do that to myself. I'm really good at reading, that's a plus. I also know how to bake things. Subscribe down below and give this video a thumbs up if you found it entertaining and helpful. We'll see what comes out next. I have nothing else to do, so I'm gonna be uploading kind of anytime I've finished editing a video. Hopefully 2 to 3 times a week. Anyway, goodbye. Toodles. Stay safe. Breathe well. Drink water. And if you're stuck at home with your kids, remind yourself that they're actually probably not hating this. It's just weird and different. But you know what? Being homeschooled made me weird and different. And I'm doing all right.